just want to raise my hand and say I've got a man crush.
It's okay. You don't have to. You've already told me that. Kevin Lacz in studio, former Navy SEAL Team 3, sniper, breacher, combat medic, new book, The Last Punisher, Amazon.com. We were having a conversation off the air, and it's funny, and I'm glad that you said this, not just because I said it before.
Has a lot to do with it, but you're right.
No, it doesn't. It's just, it's almost simplistic in the terms of, Kevin, you've been there, you've done that, you've been over, you've seen the bad guys, you've seen the terrorists, and you've seen these people that join these groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And I made a reference earlier in the show today, and I've made it before, is that they're no different than really any other organized group outside of the way that they function, is they're brainwashing people to join them. It's like people want acceptance as human beings. You find the weak-minded individuals, and then you get all these people, and then you have the one guy with the ulterior motive, and he sends the kids in with the bombs. And you were saying the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My wife and I were discussing this the other day. It's just like, it's a gang mentality. You take somebody, a young man that's grown up in religious oppression his entire life, and then you give them a gun, a sex slave, money, power, and influence. And then next thing you know, they're not going to want to leave, and they're going to do whatever you tell them. And if they kill themselves, they're going to get 72 up top, eventually when they make it up to heaven.
That's the part that kills me. I mean, they want to die. They're willing to die. I'm sorry, even from my country, like, hey, Steve, we need you to drive across the bridge and blow yourself up. I'm like, hold it, there's got to be another way.
Right.
You want to question that.
Right, and we talked about, no, you can't go ahead and wipe everything. That's not possible, but as long as that rhetoric is out there, as long as they're inspiring people who are weak-minded to join that cause and try and kill people, that's a problem. I was listening to John Kerry the other day, and he's like, ISIS is on the run. Well, as I turned on my news yesterday, clearly they're not on the run. They're actually steaming forward, no pun intended. But what we need to do is we need to address that. We need to call it what it is, and we need to get after it.
And they're not even the biggest terrorist group out there. You got that group in Africa that...
There's Al-Shabaab, there's Al-Qaeda, there's, they're all Al-Nusra.
Yeah. Just say Allah, Allah.
The one in Africa is bigger than ISIS. They're even more dangerous. They're just not getting the pub because they kind of stay, within their place.
Look, it's and we worked, and you'll read in the book, we worked with a lot of competent, Iraqi security forces who believed in the cause. They were like, this is our country. We want to make it better.
That's awesome.
However, you have these terrorist organizations that have more money, more power, and more influence. And then also, we as a country left Iraq. We did all this work. We won all this land. We built up the infrastructure, but we knew they weren't capable of taking care of themselves security-wise, and we left. And this is why we have ISIS.
And I want to go Hollywood just for a second. Obviously, your book, and I told you joked around and you said, well, have you read it? And I'm like, no, I haven't read your book. But the reason is you want to meet Kevin Lacz, and then you're like, now that I've met you, hell yeah, I want to read this book.
To be honest with you, everybody that has a book, we say we're going to read it, but we're not readers. So if you could do a movie.
Can you do a movie, The Last Punisher? Because if you do a movie, we're in.
We're like, color by numbers, pop up, small attention span type of people.
How many pages?
It's right here.
320.
Let me see it. Let me see the thickness.
It's right here.
Is it big print? I can read this. That's
Steve,
a reader.
Stop lying.
No. I will read
Said
it.
the same thing to Clinton Hill. The guy that jumped on the back of Kennedy's car.
Hey, I'm 2 chapters in on that.
And he was here like a year ago.
Doesn't matter, but I'm reading. I want to say from the Hollywood aspect, when we're watching American Sniper, and again played by Bradley Cooper, the story of Chris Kyle and yourself, where are you in that movie? I mean, I know you played in it, but where are you in real life in that movie? Where were you were portrayed in it? Were you not? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, so I was training Bradley on the range in Santa Clarita a couple months before we started filming, and my buddy Rick and I were teaching him how to shoot, and he goes to me, he's like, hey, you should play yourself in the movie, and I was like, I don't know about that. I was a kid that ran away from drama class. I was on the sports field.
Yeah, but dude, you look good. You got to roll with that.
Well,
you got a hot wife.
He kept asking me and asking me. And then eventually I went back to, North Carolina, and then I got the sides. So I videotaped it on an iPhone, sent it in, heard back from the casting director. Clint loved it. So I ended up going to Morocco to film the movie.
Talking about Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Notice he calls him Clint?
Yeah, the rest of us call him Clint Eastwood, but, Kevin, you can call him Clint.
Why don't you just say where he is, Clinty Winnie?
Now, who's the man? So, in the movie, the dart scene, the guy getting darts thrown into his back at the bar.
Yes,
that's me. I'm in it, throughout the movie. But when Ryan Job gets hit, I'm working on him. When Mark Lee gets hit, I'm working on him. And then the live footage at the end, the stuff from the procession was actually filmed from our vehicle. The writer Jason Hall was filming that when Lindsay and I drove with him down to Austin, and then saluting the casket at the end.
Okay, but what were you doing? Were you working with Chris Kyle when he was actually shooting? You were there with him? The snipe. I mean, were y'all a team?
We were.
We say team because you see there's always that other soldier with them. What is that soldier's job to do while he's laying there?
So I think in the movie you're referring to the Kyle Gallner character, the Marine.
Yes.
So that depicts Chris's second deployment to Fallujah when he was working with the Marines. So Kyle was kind of his security. But for the most part, when we deployed, we had just a SEAL up there shooting.
And you knew Chris.
Yeah, so we deployed in 2000. So Chris is in the book, The Last Punisher. He was when I got to SEAL Team 3 Charlie Platoon. He was one of my mentors. He just came back from Fallujah, had a bunch of targets that he had hit in Fallujah, and then we deployed to Ramadi where he had 101 kills. So I was probably. I don't know, about 80 or so are those that I witnessed on that deployment.
How do you feel about just recently they took some of the medals away? The medals so
the DD-214 was in question. Chris was a brother of mine, and I think the biggest honor you have as a SEAL or in the military is that you get to protect somebody else's life. And Chris did that for me, and I did that for him, and as did other SEALs in the platoon. He never once gave me a reason to distrust him, whether in his actions, his words, his intentions. And I personally, after 2 deployments of working with Chris, I saw 1 Silver Star and 3 Bronze Stars. So I have no reason to question him. But he had 2 deployments prior to me getting there, so that's where the other medals come in. I really feel if you are digging into the details of Chris Kyle, who's deceased, his records, I think the military has better things to do, and I think there are more records need to be looked into harder than Chris Kyle.
And it wasn't because Chris Kyle came back bragging.
No, right? He wasn't that type at all.
He was recognized. He was noticed by his peers. And I agree with you 110%. I mean, it wasn't like the guy was like, look at me, look what I did, make a movie about me, right? I mean, he wasn't that type of guy.
No, Chris was extremely humble. My wife can agree to that. He had, in a team, you have somebody who has all the knowledge in the world, right? And then they try and hold that knowledge and don't want to share it. But Chris, as a sniper, gave that knowledge to everybody else. And that was what made other shooters more effective. But Chris had 160 confirmed kills. So people want to know about that. And then they dive deeper and deeper and deeper and want to, and the next thing you know, he's got a book and a movie. But people just want to know what it's like to be the
160.
That's crazy. And I guess
those are the confirmed ones.
Those are the confirmed. So there's probably more. Do you know where your kills are?
What's that?
Or is this something you want to answer?
They're 6 feet under right now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Touche. Kevin Lacz in studio's new book, The Last Punisher, Amazon.com. You're also going to be doing a book signing downtown Woodstock at Foxhole's Bookstore, 7 o'clock this evening. Correct?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a great time up at Woodstock.
I got to tell you, man, it's just you're a fascinating guy. You're a lovely wife here. Mm-hmm. But the stories that you come back with, I'm always kind of on the fence of hearing stories from military. There's always that, do I want to know? Why am I being told this story? And your story is fascinating. Obviously, the Chris Kyle aspect of it as well. And I think that because there's a lot of people after 9/11. Remember, there's a generation that wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, there's people in this room.
I've got kids 15 and 11. The 15-year-old was just born. So they're just reading about it in history books. We lived it, and I'm wearing my 9/11 memorial shirt. I was there last weekend for the first time. I went before before it was built in the makeshift memorial. And I got to tell you, I said this earlier in the week, I was emotional and I was angry. And I'll tell you why I was angry, Kevin, is because there were so many, it's a tourist attraction. And I saw people taking selfies in front of the names of individuals inscribed on that stone in front of the infinity fountains.
Yeah, it's something you almost don't smile in front of, if that sounds odd.
Am I off by having that emotion?
No, not at all. We were just in D.C., and people, it's so hot up there. They're bathing in the World War II Memorial and then also the Reflection Pond, and they're walking through the Holocaust Museum looking for Pokemon. So the reason with this book, I think as the disproportionate amount of people, serve versus don't serve widens, people need to know why we do this, why we sacrifice. And, we're only 2 generations away from forgetting the past. And, the further we go, we forget what happened in the atrocities of World War II or what happened in Korea, Vietnam, and we keep going further and further. And the more we we tell our story, we keep the public informed because the people need to know why we do this.
I just remember being live on the air that day and talking till 12:30, and I was the one in the studio facing the television, and I saw the smoke, and I'm like, something's going on with the Trade Center. And that day changed everything. Anybody that lived it. But I look at a guy like you that's intelligent, you're athletic, you're in college, and then you get this calling, and then you step up to the highest level to serve, and then you serve, and then you come back and you finish school. I mean, that's an impressive calling. What burned inside you?
You read the college experience wasn't as.
Were you partying?
Oh yeah, I was one.
Because Nate over there loves to funnel.
I was one flush from circling the drain. It was bad.
But it was your friend lost his father, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I wasn't a complete knucklehead. I just had. I was not focused on what I should have been in college, but my best friend at the time, his father was killed in Trade Center.
Wow.
And I just remember sitting and being at the memorial service and wondering, like, what's the next step? What am I going to do? College obviously isn't what it should be for me. And I went to the Marines to join, but their office was closed. So I walked into the Navy, saw a poster, and there was a bunch of frogmen wielding machine guns with big old caterpillar mustaches, and I was like, I want to do that. And that was it.
When it's all said and done, now you've got the book, you're out. You have a life. Thank God you're alive. Obviously,
2 kids.
You don't suffer from PTSD, which is fantastic. If I say, Kevin Lacz, did you get everything that you expected to get out of the military? How would you answer?
I believe so. And to back to PTSD, there's nothing wrong with PTSD. And I think we are becoming more and more aware of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that have it, and we're directing the medical attention to it. It's something that people work with. They never fully recover, but we work with that. We understand it a lot better than we did, and just say they're shell shocked, and that's great. And they need to keep telling their story. My experience with the military, a lot of people look at your experiences like you've had to engage targets, you've seen people shot. I feel those are empowering experiences, because less than 1% of the population in this country experience that, and even fewer in the world. And you can take those experiences and you can change whatever battlefield you go to. So as a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, you change a battlefield, whether it's Ramadi, Fallujah, in Afghanistan. And when you get out, you can go ahead and take all those worldly experiences you have that very small amount of people have, and change whatever you go into, medicine, law, broadcasting, wherever you can, because you are special. You've been there, done that. So take that, put it in a positive direction, and make some change happen.
All right. Well, look, again, the book on Amazon.com, The Last Punisher. I'm sure you can find it in bookstores as well, right?
Absolutely. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Yep.
And Kevin's going to be doing a book signing downtown Woodstock at Foxholes Bookstore, 7 p.m. this evening. You and your lovely wife, Lindsay, right?
Lindsay.
Yes. Lindsay. Thank you for coming in, Kevin Lacz.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for your service. Thanks for being here.
Man.
Thanks for sharing the story. Thanks for writing the book. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, guys. And all the veterans listening, thanks for your service.
All right, excellent.
We'll see this guy tonight.